What's up, everybody? It's the Daywalker Reporter here again to you guys. Pretty comprehensive video about the status of anime over the course of this past, um, well, over the course of the past couple weeks. It's a new anime season this year, and it's been very impressive so far. A lot of the shows are very good. They've done a lot of these studios have done a really good job at delivering us with some of the best shows I've seen in a while. We got the likes of Masaaki Yuasa back at it again with another series that I would definitely consider to be in like the sort of top tier of no, top tier of all shows of all time, not just anime. But yeah, I would I would like to explain basically the tiers we got here. We have the best shows of the season. We got very good shows, we got average shows, and we got boring shows, and we got annoying shows, and this is gonna fluctuate over the course of this video. I'm recording over it, so yeah. You can kind of I watched the first 3 episodes of all of these shows, and normally when it comes to really good shows, you could be able to tell the difference between the good ones and the bad ones, even based off of the first episode. Like, it's very unlikely for if a show is really good in the beginning for it to be bad going on. But anyway, without any further ado, let's get started. Starting with Magia Record. I haven't necessarily seen Magia Record yet. I heard it was very good. I'm a big fan of Madoka Magica. Urabuchi Gen isn't going to be in this season, so it really causes reason for concern, at least on my part, because I really don't want a bad Madoka Magica series. Yeah, so now when it comes to like this other series, Plunderers, I remember Plunderers. It wasn't terrible, but there wasn't enough to the series that really hooked me. The main character is really creepy. The whole conceit of the show is about people's values being sort of linked, or like not necessarily value, but like there's like a number that keeps track of something that somebody does or whatever. I wasn't really following it. I found it very difficult to really get invested. Overall, it's not necessarily my thing. So yeah, that's sort of Plunderers for you. And then next we have Nekopara. Nekopara. I haven't seen it yet. And I've heard some pretty bad things about it. I heard it's based off like a visual novel that isn't even really that good, and like the appeal of it is completely different than like, well, it's a little weird, but like it doesn't even have that sort of appeal. So even if you're into like really niche stuff, it really does take that away, and then there's like no real proper story according to people. So I don't know. It could be your thing. I haven't seen it, so yeah, like I said, I don't know. Then there's Somalia and the Forest Spirit. Now this is definitely in my top 10 of this season. It's got a beautiful aesthetic, amazing backgrounds, pretty good character art. It's definitely a shy away from the manga. The manga looks absolutely incredible with like artwork that's almost as detailed as like the likes of Berserk. But like I feel like it doesn't necessarily need to be the perfect adaptation. The color palette's pretty good. The overall character designs are pretty good, and the backgrounds look absolutely incredible. So yeah, definitely check out Somali and the Forest Spirit. I like the two main characters. The dynamic between the two is almost like a father-daughter relationship, and it's very Iyashike, meaning that it's a very healing series. It makes you feel good while you watch it, and sometimes it's just very nice to consume. It's very nice to consume media that just in general makes you feel good and doesn't really harbor on any sort of negative feelings for too long. I mean, it has some darker themes in it, but overall it's pretty good. Yeah. And then next show, definitely is Inspector. Inspector is Inspector is a series that that appeals to me very personally. It's about a girl who is sort of whisked away by these yokai, and the yokai, in essence, don't really know anything about humans. They're kind of dumb when it comes to human logic and stuff like that. So they sort of took this girl in to try to get her to sort of basically explain the logic of how humans work, so that so that they can ultimately be able to coexist with humans. It's got very amazing animation and art. I like a lot of these sort of set pieces. A lot of people were expecting it to be sort of an action series, and I was too until I saw the second episode. And the second episode definitely blew my mind as far as the quality of the storytelling. If we're dealing with the fact that she's more so a diplomat between the humans and the spirits, and the fact that they sort of deviated away. In the first episode, I was a little bit concerned about it. Ending up being like this sort of Monster of the Week sort of action series. But now that I figure out it sort of veers off away from that, it's really cool. The main character girl design is really cute. She has really nice hairstyle. It really appeals to me. I like the fact that she has a really cool cane and she knows a lot. And diplomacy. Diplomacy is one of my favorite themes. You know, I really want to work on being able to be a really good diplomat. So having a story that sort of zeroes in and focuses on that is really good. In this segment of the sort of podcast or the video, I decided to like put in like a good category, because like Pet isn't a series that necessarily falls into the very good category like Inspector, at least in my opinion. It doesn't necessarily appeal to me as much as Inspector would, but it still is very good. Like, I really like the sort of psychological aspects of it. I like the fact that basically our characters, two main characters, how their abilities work. I mean, in the first episode, it was not really clear if these two guys, who are basically called Crushers, would be the main characters. But after watching the first and the second episode, I came to the realization that you got these dudes who could basically go into people's memories and reshape them in order to help them, basically function better in a lot of ways. It's still not 100% clear what the overall purpose of these guys are, but I definitely like it. It's definitely appealing. It has some nicely drawn character designs, some very interesting theming, and it has some really cool, like, just general, just it get when the scenes get trippy, they really get trippy. And they really sort of appeal to me as someone who's very into the subconscious, someone who's really into psychology. It's really interesting. If you're not really into like seeing like really heavy stuff, I definitely wouldn't suggest watching this, because in the very first episode, there's this sort of scene with this kid who's watching a cartoon, and his mom is in the kitchen and talking about how their father is so far away and how she wants to kill herself. And like he sort of starts banging his head across the stand where the TV is, and it's not necessarily the prettiest scene to watch. I had a hard time watching it, and I've read stuff like Berserk, so like that's a lot. So yeah, definitely give Pet a watch. It's really good, very very freaking good. Next we have what is this series called? I don't even remember what the show's name is. I think it's number 24. Number 24, its first episode kind of went over my head. It's basically a show about rugby. And now, if there's one thing, if anybody knows about me, I'm really into sports anime. A lot of people would assume that anime fans wouldn't be really into sports. I like Hajime no Ippo. I like ping pong. I like Kuroko's basketball. I like Haikyuu, even though I'm not really fully caught up with Haikyuu. Baby Steps. There's Captain Tsubasa, stuff like that. I'm really into sports anime. But this show, and Slam Dunk. This show doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't. Like, there's not enough that's interesting. It's just a bunch of pretty boys doing rugby. The setting is boring. Nothing about the characters are interesting. It doesn't really stand out. So I'm putting it in the sort of boring category. You know, it's not that interesting. We have Richard something. Hoseki Cho Richard. Now Hoseki Cho Richard, its premise sounds like it might be interesting. That's what I thought when I first heard about it. But then when I actually watched the show, it just didn't do anything for me. The whole premise of the show is basically this guy who is able to appraise jewelry and tell about the psychological state of the person who had the jewelry, and then be able to sort of chart where that person is and the dynamics. It's kind of it's got an interesting premise, but how it's handled is not as interesting as the show sort of plays it out to be. The character designs are really nice, but it just doesn't really do anything for me. It's not interesting. I'm pretty sure there are other anime that are like this that are really good, but for me, it just didn't do it. It was boring, wasn't fun to watch. I barely remember anything that happened in the episode. So if I barely remember anything, it's really bad. Let's see what we got here. So I have to make a video about how annoying this show is. This next show is basically about Oda Nobunaga being reborn as a dog. And it's about one of the most aggravating things I've ever had to watch. They managed to make Shiba Inus ugly, and yeah, I love dogs. Like, I absolutely adore dogs. There's another show that came out this season that had dogs in it, had dogs and cats, and it was actually pretty good. The only reason why I was kind of turned off by it is because the human character designs are ugly as sin. But, like, you know, that show is pretty good. This show just doesn't make it for me. They have too many shots of the dog's anus, which is freaking weird. And, like, I just couldn't get into it. Next show is Hatana Illusion. Hatana Illusion, I would say, is like a pretty average show. Like, it has a lot of tropes from, like, gender bender sort of shoujo series. The premise of the show is basically a girl is excited for her friend who's a guy, but she didn't know that he was a guy when he was young because apparently he just looked like a girl, even though he didn't necessarily look like a girl completely. It's contentious, but like the girl hates the fact that she thought her best friend was a girl, and then he ends up being a guy, and then it's basically about like him coming to her house to learn from her father because her father's a magician, her mother's a magician, and they're like magician thieves. And the whole conceit of it sounds interesting, but it has just so many like tropey shoujo-esque situations that I found it hard to stay invested. I like the character designs and art design, but it was pretty forgettable. I thought it was okay. That's why I thought it was just sort of average. Let's see, what other shows we have here? We have a couple up that I don't really recognize. Let's see, we have this other title here. The poster looks very good, but I really don't know what this is. I can't really tell what it is by looking at it. It has a really amazing poster to it. But besides that, I really don't know what it is. I'm definitely gonna have to put this in. Haven't seen before. Done it. Like I said, has a really good aesthetic to the poster. Let's see. What do we have next? We have, what's this show? I don't know what this is either. This is this is unrecognizable. Over here it says on now it says it's called Overflow. It's got a 6.47. The the cover art looks really weird. I don't know what I'm supposed to expect from this. Is it supposed to be a comedy? It seems like more so it's like an ecchi series. But yeah, not my thing. Hope whoever actually watches this show, well, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if it's any good. I'm not so sure if it is going to be. We will have to see. Next we have Runaway de Warate. Now, with this show, I I saw some of the first episode. I thought it was okay. I didn't necessarily finish. I watched like halfway through the first episode. That's like 10 minutes, and a lot of it was pretty cool. It's a fashion show series. I definitely want to revisit it and like actually watch all three of the first episodes and really get like a comprehensive understanding of what it is because fashion is cool. I like outfits. I like dressing nice. So, you know, when I get the chance to, of course, but we'll see. It could be good. Next is 22 over 7. Okay. 22 over 7 is the series is barely comprehensible and weird. It was created to advertise for an actual group called 22 over 7. And I'll just get this out of the way. I'm not the biggest fan of this show. I think it's pretty average, to be honest. It's essentially just about like another idol group, but it's advertising for a real world idol group, and I guess that's something that makes it interesting, like on a superficial level. Just the simple fact that I like multimedia based creative properties. Like I'm a huge fan of Childish Gambino. One of my favorite works by him is it's I think Laughing for the Wrong Reasons, which was like a sort of short in conjunction with the actual like soundtrack of Because of the Internet. But this show is not that. Like it's literally just about like a bunch of girls with different personalities and they have pretty cool character designs, but and basically they're taken to this model not this modeling, this idol agency, and at the idol agency it's really freaking creepy because like there's this freaking what you call it. There's this wall that issues out orders for people. It's like very like weird, and I don't know what the deal is with the wall. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. What's the next show here that we have here? Oh my god, what is this? It looks like a show. Yeah. Um. Let's see. What is this show? This next show, I don't know what this is, so I haven't seen it. This next show following that is Mure Nase Seton Gakuen. Never heard of this before in my entire life. I was going to start watching this show. This is what happens when I try to get into a new show. A lot of the times, if a new episode of a show that I really like comes out, and then a new episode of a show that I've never seen before comes out, I'm most likely going to choose a show that I not that I haven't seen before, the show that I already know is good, that I already like. So, yeah, so I'm putting that under I haven't seen. This next show, Ore Oshi ga Bokudan Ite Kure Tara. I don't remember the English name. I can't find it. Well, no, I can find it, but I don't feel like it. I like this show. It's basically about this girl who's a big fan of this idol group, and there's this one particular member of the idol group just absolutely adores. And in this love that she has for this member of this idol group as a fan, she devotes a lot of time and a lot of focus into her, and she's the only one that actually like legitimately believes that she deserves more clout than she gets.
And it's a very funny series. It's very interesting to see like a relatively cute girl in a sea of extreme idol fan otaku. And a lot of these guys are like, the stereotype of what you would expect to be an otaku. Which is really funny. The show very much reminds me of like a Perfect Blue. It has elements of that, with the sort of idol culture commentary, done by Satoshi Kon, one of my favorite, if not, yeah, one of my favorite anime films of all time. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to like new dynamics being introduced. It's very much production based, like stuff like Shirobako and Bakuman, and one of my favorite anime on this list that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But it's definitely like those shows where I could see it turning into a show about her eventually becoming a part of the production committee of, you know, whatever her name is, group is. But yeah, definitely a show worth watching. Um, this next show, what is it called? Definitely, I'm putting it into the good segment, by the way, for that last show. This show, I don't remember what the title of this show is, but I remember watching it. Actually, eh, I remember what this show is, but I don't necessarily remember what the title is, and I watched it, and it's actually pretty good. I need to look up the title real quick, just so that I can remember. All I know is that it's about like these not two doctors, two scientists. It's called Rikegakoi. Yeah, Rikegakoi. Um, Basically, these two scientists fall in love. The whole conceit of the show is that they're trying to quantify their love for each other, and it's a really cute, really entertaining series. It's just to get this out of the way. It's definitely in the good section, or like it's definitely up there in the good section because of the fact that like the two personalities of the two doctors are very funny. Now I have but like the good segment for sure because like he cares about really into like trying to figure out the logic behind their relationship. And like it's so funny because like the girl already sort of accepts the fact that they're in love and she doesn't really care so much about finding the reason why. But at the end of the day, it's like she likes spending time with him so much that she doesn't even care about the fact that like they may never find the answer. They literally are just having fun, sort of doing different experiments and trying to figure things out, which is really cool. I really like that aspect of the series. Um, like an example of like a really good moment in the first episode, especially, was this moment where basically the main character girl, when she was younger, she sort of was socially awkward. A lot of people didn't want to be around her. She thought initially it was just because she liked bugs, but this one dude told her basically that it was because of the fact that she didn't take showers and didn't brush her teeth or do anything like that. And she just thought it was that. But then, like, she fixed those problems as a result of his advice. And the funny thing is about it is that I thought this was going to be, okay, there's a third character that's going to sort of impede in their relationship. But no, it turns out it was a main character the whole time. And that was really nice because I'm kind of tired of the trope of like this new guy being introduced to the equation to mess up the relationship. It doesn't really add anything interesting. It's just being predictable. But yeah, I like the series. It's pretty good. Next on this list, what is this show? What's this next show? Let me find out what this is. Boku no Tonari. Never heard of this series before. It's a 6.17 on Mal. Normally you would assume that means that the show is bad, but I like a lot of shows that are varying. I like the character designs based off the cover. Hopefully it's good. I'll put it into I haven't seen it yet, I guess. Okay, now here we go. We got Kyutei Dragons. Kyutei Dragons is definitely one of my favorite shows of this season. It's got a really cool aesthetic. The idea behind it is basically this group of dragon hunters that they kill the dragons and they sell their body parts and they trade them and make money or get food to support themselves because they're like a mercenary band that travels the skies, and they're generally not accepted by most people. Um, which kind of sucks because they're all pretty nice people. Like, they're pretty cool to be around. I like the central conceit of the show. The manga looks way better than the show. Like, the anime doesn't really even compare. But, like, it's a good example of how to do CG, right? CG. It's a good example of how to do CG. It's a good example of how to do CGI and anime correctly. Because a lot of shows really fail at this. Because, like, there isn't, like, the frame rate is really bad, or like they're really bad at like the colors are terrible. When it came to Leiden Films' adaptation of Berserk, the worst thing about that was the frame rate, the shots and camera compositions, and the color choices. The animation sucked too, but like that kind of stuff really made it worse. In this episode, the choreography of the fights with the dragon were very invigorating. I like the character dynamics, and I like one of the main characters, the guy who basically eats dragons, and like he likes to cook them in very interesting and odd ways, and it lends itself to being a lot like you're watching a cooking show, and I like cooking shows; they're a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely check out Cute Dragons. Definitely gonna put this inside of uh, the very good category because it's freaking good. It's a really good show. Up next, we have okay, we got a night to watch. We got anime to put on this list. We got freaking let's see, Koisuru Asteroid. I've heard good things about this. Haven't seen it. It looks interesting. I heard it has something with like girls like to. Let's see, what's after that? We got Heya Camp. Heya Camp's really good. I like the first season. I don't know too much about this season since I haven't seen it yet. Hopefully it's memorable. It does a lot of things right. Hopefully it's a good show to keep me invested. But yeah. Let's see. Oh God. Okay. The next series I put up there, and this is kind of out of order. Let me correct this. Ishizoku Review is definitely a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. No questions asked. Next we have Infinite Detrogram. Now, this sort of skirts the line between being annoying and being sort of boring, and that's a lot to be in between realms of being annoying and being boring. Because the central conceit of the show is a never freaking isekai. Like, there's new with that premise. You know, goes to a different realm. It's kind of like, you know, Sword Art Online and stuff of that ilk of basically just being about like sort of I don't freaking know. It's not that appealing. I wasn't necessarily into um Infinite Detrogram. I thought that some of the ideas and the central conceit of the show were pretty cool. Like the fact that the NPCs actually die and stay dead, and they don't come back. But even with that, it's like you're balancing. It's like a balancing act with some of the worst content that I've ever seen. Like the sword in the series is garbage. It looks terrible. It's one of the worst sword designs I've ever seen. Like if I made a list of some of the worst, it probably would be up there. But yeah, Infinite Detrogram, not necessarily my thing. Its art and animation isn't really that good. I thought it could possibly be interesting because of the fact that the main character could barely do anything in the first, like, couple minutes of the show, but is it that good? No. No, it's not that good. Now moving on to my favorite show of the entire season, definitely Oh my god, Izo-ken. Izo-ken is absolutely incredible. Everything about the show, to me, is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It's basically about these three girls who want to make their own anime. It's done by Masaaki Ueso, once again, back at it again with some of the best quality stuff. You know, if anybody remembers in 2018 with Devilman Crybaby, if anybody remembers, definitely Ping Pong and shows like that, or Kaiba. Ueso, and he also did an episode of, like, what's it called again? He did an episode of Adventure Time too, and this guy constantly delivering with the quality of his works, and I really appreciate what he manages to do on, like, a majority of the stuff that he produces. So yeah, big fan of Eizouken. So the best animation, character designs, all that sort of stuff. I write extensive reviews about that online. If anybody wants to know the link to my Tumblr, it's gonna be in the let's see, what other show on this tier list do I have? Oh god, some of the rest of these shows are kind of disappointing. Okay, Orphan. Oh lord, Orphan is probably. Ooh, I don't know where to put this show. It's probably one of the biggest disappointments I've ever seen in anime, next to another thing on this list that I'm going to talk about later. But, like, Orphan, the original show just looks so great. Like, everything about it was just so amazing. The character designs, the animation, everything was perfect. But then you get this new anime, and it's like the worst, like, CGI freaking transmutation circles. You have freaking this dragon that's not CG, but is stale. Like, it's the most boring dragon design I've ever seen in my entire life. And then you have that in conjunction with just, like, it's focused on a serious storyline, which I don't mind, but, like, come on now. Like, it doesn't justify itself as a remake, because it doesn't deliver as well as the original show. Like, I'm someone who's a firm believer that if you're going to make a remake of a show, you have to justify it by actually taking advantage of the medium at hand. If you can't do that, then there's no point in even making a remake. There's no point in even adapting it. You might as well just leave it alone and let it exist as it originally was. Okay, next show we have is Inspector. Inspector is insane. It's a really out there series about basically, this guy who sort of virtually realities himself into people's id, and he's able to basically solve the mystery of the murderer, because this is mostly murder cases. It's a crime thriller series, and he has a very interesting personality. I like the central conceit of the series. The fact that there's, like, it kind of reminds me of Psycho-Pass, because they're able to pick up on the sort of registry of murders in their mindset. In the first episode, you get this really amazing scene of, like, a character being in the middle of, we don't know where he is, and it's a really cool way to introduce a detective story, because he doesn't know where he is, the audience doesn't know what he's doing, and we're just sort of following him throughout. There's a central conceit about, like, him trying to solve the mystery of his daughter, which is also really cool, and it's all linked to this villain named Alan Walker, who's essentially like Makishima Shogo from Psycho-Pass. And yeah, it's a really good series. I really like it. Definitely gonna put it not very, very good, but it's definitely good. Next. Oh god. Here we go. The adaptation of my favorite manga of all time, Dorohedoro, is depressing. It's one of the biggest disappointments I've ever watched. One of the things I love about the original manga of Dorohedoro, and what lends it as being one of my favorites, or it lends it as being my favorites, because it has my favorite aesthetic of any manga. It's so grungy. The character designs are very wacky and weird. The color palette of the manga panels is perfect. But as it's translated into the anime, it just doesn't work. Like, you have these very bright colors that really contrast with the violence and grittiness of the manga. It sort of plays off of the more comedic aspects of the manga, which I think is okay, because the manga is pretty funny, but it doesn't do it well. Like, it really doesn't. And I was just really disappointed by this. Like, everything about it, like, I say everything about it is just, no. Dorohedoro, one of the biggest disappointments ever. Next we have Darwin's Game. Haven't seen it. Heard a lot of bad things about it. Not so sure if I actually want to watch it, but we'll see. Next we have Jikoku Rock... No. What is this series called? I like it. I know I like it. I know I've watched it. It's Jibaku Shonen Hanako-kun. This series is basically about a ghost boy who's inside of the girl's bathroom, and he grants wishes for people. And, you know, it's a supernatural sort of slice of life, almost like Monster of the Week type of series. I like its aesthetic. It's directed by the guy who did Kuzu no Honkai, and that guy, he's really good at like transferring the style of the manga into anime. But the problem is that it doesn't really take advantage of everything about anime. Now, it takes advantage of the color, audio, visual aspects of anime, but the actual animation is barely even present. But I think the editing is so good that it makes it a really easy show to watch. I don't know how much of this show I'll actually be able to sit through before dropping it. So yeah, I'll just put it at it's a very good series. I really like it. I don't think I'm gonna drop it because there's enough about it that keeps me invested and keeps me interested that I'm gonna keep watching it, even though there's not much of a central story. Then we have, oh god, the title of this is just annoying. Even though I saw the first episode, I kind of like it. Bofuri. Bofuri is basically a series about a girl who's transferred into a video game world, and she has to, in essence, sort of, what was I going to say? She doesn't have to do anything. It's more so like a slice of life in an isekai world. There's a lot of slice of life this season. Even though they're not strictly slice of life. But anyway, I digress. She's going through, and she's basically in the virtual reality, and she's building up her vitality through getting attacked by monsters, and then her defense gets so heightened that she's able to buy a really dope shield by the end of the episode. And I like the sense of progression that the first episode sort of had. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was the best show out this season. If I were to rate it, honestly, I would put it at an average show. It's better than all the other average shows. But even being better than all the other average show, it still lends itself as being still kind of, okay. It's alright. But yeah, that's it for my listing of anime for the 2020 winter season. Which series did you guys like? I liked a lot of these shows. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my thoughts. I hope you guys check these shows out. I definitely need to do a top 10 video of like the top 10 in this list, which seem to be, if you saw this, you got spoiled. But yeah, that's it for now. See you guys in the next one.